Thanks, darling. Do you want to move these things over there and I'll put this up?
Sure.
Or we don't have to move them. Hi, friends. Host Eric here, host Talking with Famous People. Hey,
I left the box out here.
Hey, Dad. By the way, if we have any AT&T stock, we should probably sell it.
No, I don't have any AT&T stock.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
That is great.
Because I'm currently doing a video about how AT&T is losing their shit right now, firing everybody. And the reason is because their last CEO, his basic strategy was, I'm going to buy as many different little companies as we can. And then COVID hit, he's massively in debt, and all of his media enterprises had to shut down. And now they're firing that CEO, replacing him, and AT&T stock has stayed down where it was the bottom of the COVID drop, where all the other telecommunications stocks have gone back up.
Well, we do have Gilead Science.
That's a good one to have.
Huh?
That's a good one to have.
Yes. Yeah. So that's been very, very helpful.
I'm glad we don't have AT&T stock. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
If you want to have some fun, this is a fun stock. Check out UTZ.
UTZ?
UTZ.
Yeah, I know what they are.
Their stock?
They have a stock?
Yeah,
They're a public company? Huh.
I don't know what you're doing, but
I'm just live streaming. Oh, I was live streaming because, see, Rachel watches this other thing called Adult Swim live stream. Adult Swim is a part of the media enterprises of AT&T. And so she entered a contest and she won a contest. I'm going to send her some like t-shirts and stuff like that. Okay. And, but she's been sort of intuiting that something's going on over there. And it turns out that we've concluded that probably they have fired this guy, Eric Andre, from Adult Swim based on a couple of clues. And so he's kind of like sort of one of the faces of that network or that show. So if we're right, and they haven't announced it, but if we're right, it's kind of like breaking news, you know?
Mm-hmm.
no, go ahead, check UTZ just for fun.
UTZ, okay. Let's see here. UTZ stock.
You got it up there already?
It's let's look at the 5-day. It's generally going on a month.
That's good.
Wow. Look at that.
Wow.
It's 6 months. Nice. Look at that.
Wow.
See, this is 6 months ago. This is at the bottom of the COVID thing.
Okay.
So that doesn't really mean anything.
So now
it's probably just back up to where it was.
Back to where it was.
Let's look at the 1 year. Actually,
it's doing a lot better.
Yeah, it's doing a lot better. Look at that. It was at 1025 a year ago, and it's at 1882 today.
Yeah, we bought it about right here.
That's a good place to buy.
That's a good place to buy.
That's a good place to buy. Buying it at $10.11 is an excellent good place to buy.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
That is cool.
That's because I'm in love with the UTZ girl.
The girl.
The little girl, the chip.
Yeah, with the orange socks. And
is that there?
That was just a wild guess. I thought this would be kind of fun to have, and I thought we'd go ahead and bought it. But
Oh, look at this.
Guys.
Here's why. UTZ brand's $480 million acquisition of Insignia portfolio company Truco Enterprises. So this just happened.
Got bought out?
It just happened that UTZ bought this brand that does tortilla chips, salsa, queso under the On the Border brand to UTZ. So UTZ just acquired Mexican food companies.
Oh.
Well, that's even better.
Right, yeah. And the thing is, it just happened too. So probably like tomorrow or the next day, or I don't know, soon it'll go up even more, because assuming people think it's a good acquisition. If they think it's a bad acquisition, then I guess not. But
so much instant news.
Oh, okay. That was just one of those things that it was a brand of our youth.
Yeah.
And I decided that, well,
according to Google, 5 Wall Street analysts have issued buy, hold, or sell ratings for UTZ in the last year. There are currently 1 hold rating and 4 buy ratings for the stock, resulting in a consensus recommendation of buy.
So that was
There
a
you
good
go.
one.
Why Utz brands just popped 9%? November 12th. You bought this back in.
Wow.
You bought this back in like, February or whatever. And this article from November 12th says why Utz just popped 9%. I've been eating Utz brand potato chips since I was a kid and investing in stocks since I was a young adult. In fact, one of the first companies I thought of investing in once I began investing was Utz potato chips.
Makes me hungry.
Yeah.
I like that 9%. 9%.
Yeah, that's
good.
Yes,
good.
9% is
Okay,
good.
All right, see you, Dad.
Take care.
That's funny.
That is. Such interesting news.
How great is that, right? It's like I'm not a stocks person or whatever,
No.
but I love the fact that when I asked my dad worriedly if we have any AT&T stock, he said none.
The opposite news for
and then,
you.
yeah, and then he says, "See how Utz is doing? I on a whim bought a bunch of Utz last year or something." I mean, fuck yeah, right? You know?
Yeah. I actually feel like I don't feel bad for Eric Andre. I feel bad for like the people behind the scenes, who've been with the company for a long time, and it's like I feel bad because it feels like it's not going down. It's going down pretty toxically instead of.
So yeah, AT&T
Yeah.
spent their last CEO over the course of time that he was CEO, like 10 years or whatever. He had 43 acquisitions. Going up into COVID. Yeah, Winston's mom, you got the wrong Scott. All right, you got the wrong Scott. That's MC McPhee, okay? Not Lauren
There she
McGinley.
is.
God.
And Lorna's here. We got the 3 of them.
All right, but get this. So anyway, Rachel's been watching periodically for, I don't know, maybe the last few months anyway, Adult Swim live stream, which, I periodically I've watched on a couple of occasions. I mean, when I typed "please Frank James," there's no disputing the reality of it, which was I went into it wanting to throw him in the slammer. And the fact is, it's like I very shortly thereafter realized, no, he's not my INFP. It was a moment of weakness on my part to call him an INFP and throw him in the slammer. It was motivated by me not being a very good type policeman at that moment, being kind of a corrupt type policeman.
We
But
all
it
have
doesn't
our
happen
days.
anymore. It doesn't happen anymore, It used to every once in a while because I didn't know what was happening. It's like it takes me a while to get the hang of something, anything, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to just quickly finish. MC McPhee, I want to answer that question. It's a very interesting
That is
question.
a good question.
But I want to finish this on Eric Andre thing first. So first of all,
Yeah.
Rachel won a contest. So
Yeah.
she's gonna get some prizes in the mail.
Yep.
Probably some Rick and Morty stuff or something like that.
I know for sure one of the things that I'm gonna get is pickle seltzer water. Rick and Morty pickle seltzer water. Yeah. That's one of the things, and I'm sure we'll probably get other Rick and Morty things. But yeah, I found out this morning that I won a contest with Adult Swim. So I've been kind of keeping up with Adult Swim a little bit because I actually thought that I lost the contest, and I kind of wanted to see what they were, what was going on, check in, whatever, see who did win. And then all of a sudden, people in the chat were like, RIP Adult Swim, I'm going to be missing these live streams. And I'm like, what's going on? These people seem to I mean, it's not the highest of number counts, but people seem to enjoy it enough. And then I heard one person, Cho, gets fired, and I'm like, is this real? And then the next day, they have pictures of him around, so I'm like, he's not fired. But then, as I kept on watching, sure enough, more and more people got fired, and one of the people who got fired publicly was Hannibal Buress, who is on the Eric Andre show.
And then adult Rick and Morty just released a new kind of not polished exactly what do you call it, promo, and it basically shows like a graveyard of Adult Swim things that no longer are.
Yeah.
And the first thing they show in big thing is Eric Andre's face. It's like statues of things that were on Adult Swim before.
Yep.
However, there's also one of Morty, who's a statue of Morty in there as well. So it's not entirely clear that it's a graveyard because Rick and Morty's obviously still in there. Yeah. Anyway, I think that there's a lot of internal shit going on there, and that Eric Andre represents one side of the battle, and that promos is a sort of a message from internal to internal, saying that they sided with him or something, or they empathize or something. So anyway, let me answer this question.
You're right.
Question mark. Did Frank James pay you money? No, of course not. When I said I was a corrupt type police, I meant I let what I wanted to take priority over what was true. I thought it would be, at the time, I was at the mindset that it would pop more as a video if I threw him in jail. And I wouldn't do that now. That's what anybody's being a corrupt type police. It's kind of a joke. The thing is, it happened a long time ago that I type policed him and called him INFP. And it was actually the first sort of real encounter I'd had with his material. And it didn't take me very long to post a follow-up video saying, no, he's not an INFP, he's an INFJ, and I was wrong. And, did I owe him an apology? I don't think I apologized. I don't think I needed to apologize. I still don't think I needed to apologize. But I would definitely, he's definitely an INFJ. And it's not like you say it's possible that you call him an INFJ now suddenly he's an INFJ. I've called him an INFJ since a couple of days after I type policed him.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not like this is all of a sudden. I accepted he was really an INFJ not very long after I had type policed him. So I want to get back to MC McPhee's question. He's my least favorite YouTuber.
That's a great question. While you think about that, I'm going to go and try and see if I can lure Kitty out of the bedroom.
Okay. Well, I think the one who's doing the most harm in terms of typology is probably C.S. Joseph. Although I think he's doing less harm maybe than he used to. And I think that I certainly don't like to watch him. If I do watch some of it, I get annoyed very quickly. But he's probably not the most insufferable YouTuber I've ever encountered. As far as that goes, it's like I found myself disliking kind of. We don't have beef, Joey. That's insane. I don't have beef with C.S. Joseph. I never think about the guy. I would agree that he's not objectively the most unpleasant to watch. So, in other words, I don't like watching him, but I could think of other things that are are more unpleasant to watch. That's why I said I think he's the one who's doing the most damage typologically, because he's spreading the he's most effectively spreading information. I hear more people who justify or who come to me having been mistyped by C.S. Joseph than DSP. DSP is wrong too, of course, but DSP is doing something that's so weirdly wrong and silly that it only captivates people who want an ever more complicated, who want explanations for absolutely everything. Well, he's got his 512 subtypes. He ignores all the mechanical constraints or definitional constraints entirely, and he just says, well, since we can taxonomy according to this, and we've got a system, we just apply it down the line, we got 512 subtypes. Well, I mean, of course, if you have 512 subtypes, how do you really distinguish between the subtype of ISFJ that looks exactly like an ENTP and the subtype of ENTP that looks exactly like an ISFJ? You know, it's like, come on, you got to be killing me. You got to be kidding me. This thing here, when you say, I don't believe your explanation, Eric, question mark, are you joking? You're disappointed? I mean, did you change your opinion about Frank James because Joseph called him an INFP? Question mark. I typed please Frank James literally years ago. I mean, I don't remember when it was. He was one of the first people I ever did. And shortly thereafter, I said, no, he's definitely an INFJ. I have no idea what C.S. Joseph typed him. I have no idea. I don't.
I didn't even know that he typed Frank James.
Yeah, I didn't know either. But, you know, okay, well, I mean, that it makes sense that C.S. Joseph would type him as INFP because he types everybody incredibly wrong.
So, does anyone here have stocks in AT&T? Actually, my phone company is AT&T.
Yeah, if you do have stock in AT&T, sell it. Yeah, I have no idea what C.S. Joseph types him as. I don't care. Wasn't interested in finding out. I don't bother looking into what C.S. Joseph types people because, I mean, it's almost always wrong.
Yeah.
It's
rare that he's right.
Like, for example, the ISFP that I typed the other day. She'd come in, she'd been mistyped as ESFP, understandably. And she'd been mistyped as ISFJ by C.S. Joseph. And, I mean, nobody in their right mind would ever dream of typing this girl as an ISFJ. Nobody knows anything about cognitive functions.
No.
So, I mean, I don't question mark. I'm shocked to see that if unless you're just joking this entire time, that you actually that this is like news to you. Like, that's just you just realized this or something. This is old news that Frank James is an INFJ. That he's rather a textbook one. I've used things he said about INFJs to talk about stuff that I've learned about INFJs from him that's very accurate. And do I agree with C.S. Joseph typing himself as an ENTP? No, he's obviously not an ENTP.
Hi, hometown rapper.
Hi, hometown rapper. We are very pleased to welcome here today the corporate spokesperson of Hometown Buffet, Hometown Rapper.
Hometown rapper, hometown buffet.
So what type is C.S. Joseph is a question that is answered as either he is NI polar or TI polar. We can narrow it down to those four types: ESFJ, ESTJ, ESFP, or ENFP. He's almost certainly not an ENFP. It's just that's not dominant extroverted intuition. So we eliminate that one, and we're down to ESFP, ESTJ, or ESFJ. I know I did, Joey. Well, that would be SI polar, though, and I just don't think that that's accurate. Thank you. More pops. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this is a variety.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love sugar babies and sugar daddies.
Oh, me
especially.
too.
Those are the best.
Okay, that's all for a while.
Okay, we'll see you. Have a good time.
Okay.
Bye. Well, I mean, again, when I am quote unquote typing people or type policing people, I am not actually typing them. It's critically important to remember this. I can't type somebody unless I have the ability to talk to them and ask them questions. I can offer opinions about what I think somebody might be. Originally, I thought he might be an ENTJ because primarily he seemed to so effectively convert what, in my opinion, was a matter of discursive rigor into something that was for him a matter of, capitalizing. So, and I don't oppose capitalizing, okay, but question mark, I changed my opinion a long time ago. I had an opinion briefly when I type policed him, and I concluded I was wrong about that.
Yeah, you said it.
And I've acknowledged at this point that I was probably motivated by a desire to throw him in the slammer, regardless, So I'm sure you do have a reason. I'm not asking you to agree with me. You can believe whatever you want. I don't care. But I'm telling you, from my perspective, he's definitely an INFJ. He's very textbook. You're annoyed too? What are you annoyed about? You think I need to establish why CS Joseph isn't an ENTP? I mean, look, I'll concede this. He's either not an ENTP or he's an ENTP with incredibly weak NI, NE, and TI. He'd be, so if I were to say he's an ENTP, he'd be at the very bottom of the ENTP barrel. Like he'd be the worst ENTP in history, at the very end of the bell curve down here. So by telling you he's not an ENTP, I'm saying we got to assume he's not the dumbest, least creative ENTP in history. We've got to assume instead he's something else. There's a TE frame that runs through absolutely everything he does.
Yeah,
that is totally contrary to an ENTP's valuing system. So, again, as I've said before, email and fact, I can't definitively type people unless I talk to them and ask them questions.
Question mark.
Now, question mark.
Like this is coming.
Here's
out
the thing.
Of nowhere.
Question mark. Here's the thing. There's zero chance. Okay, zero chance whatsoever that I know that I'm wrong and am choosing to deny it. Okay. It is theoretically possible that CS Joseph is right and I am wrong. Okay. However, I'd put it at 0.00001%. That's my perspective on the matter. I never felt strongly that he was an INFP. As type police, as I've said many times, remember, I've said this many times, that when I'm type policing somebody, I don't actually determine what type they are. Okay? I'm determining if there's enough evidence to arrest them for not being the type they claim to be. In that Frank James video, in no uncertain terms, did I not have enough evidence to arrest them, regardless of anything else. So in that regard, it was wrong of me to play the crowd in the way that I did. But, I've grown since then. Question mark. The thing is, when I change my opinion, it's always for the same reason. It's because my opinion was wrong. It's never for any other reason. Okay. Bye, question mark. Citra's voice seems butthurt on his videos. He doesn't want to. Citra's somebody who doesn't really want to do the intellectual work, and so he ends up having to do a lot of maintenance work instead. So it's like, if you don't want to justify yourself with ways that are in ways that are defensible and generally resonant as logically fair, just, motivated by being correct rather than by winning or something, then you want to face this kind of critique and feedback. So I love the fact that question marks coming in here and making me defend my position. I may not feel like really defending it right now, but that's fine. This is how you do it, right? This is how you do it right. If you do it correctly, then you answer people's challenges, you answer people's negations, you answer their points. When they challenge something you say, you are responsive to it. You address it directly. You require of yourself consistency and reasonableness. You require of yourself to prioritize being correct over being perceived as correct. So, from my perspective, it's very easy to dismiss C.S. Joseph simply, regardless of what he's saying, by looking to how he responds to discursive engagement. Question mark, I would not be surprised if I said it 6 or 7 times in that video. Because in that video, I concluded he was INFP. So I changed my opinion because it was wrong, and I don't like to cling to wrong positions. Have I checked out the CS Joseph type grid type people? I'm familiar with what it is. I have not used it. I have taken CS Joseph's online test, however, and it typed me as ENTP rogue, quote unquote.
Wow.
So, I mean, I don't know what to say about that.
You always test as ENTP. It's so impressive.
I mean, the thing is, Darren Siebert's C.S. Joseph doesn't understand intuition, extroverted intuition at all, and doesn't seem to really understand introverted intuition at all. And he tends to type intuitives to sensors and sensors to intuitives. Is there a way for your method to conclude intro or extroverted without establishing any function? No, because introverted and extroverted are not the same sort of thing as cognitive functions. So I've said in the past, I don't like the attitude part of cognitive functions because it leads you to a wrong conclusion. For example, saying that you're an extrovert thinker first means that you're framing the stuff that you're encountering in life through this either goal attainment, problem solving, or utility frame, and whether or not that looks extroverted in any conventional sense of the word is questionable. Depends on, it's not a form of extroversion that engages with people necessarily a lot or is talkative a lot necessarily. It's not a form of extroversion that wants to perform a lot in front of people or something like that. So what are you going to say? So, okay. Email Anthrax agrees with question mark. I actually think you were correct the first time, Eric. I wish you would revisit it and maybe try to eliminate INFJ or INFP with a follow-up reasoning. So I definitely have revisited it many times. In other words, I've watched a fair amount of Frank Kent videos, more than most people I've watched, and I've listened to what he has to say about INFJs and other types and such. Every experience I've had with watching him, dealing with him, it has been consistent with INFJ and inconsistent with INFP. So again, what this is driving home to me, and it's quite important, is that I have to be relentlessly earnest and honest and just. And if there's a moment where I am something other than that, where I'm prioritizing ulterior motives and saying, I want to throw them in the slammer, or letting my own feelings come into play and mistype somebody, or, wrongly throw them in type jail, no matter how pretend and ridiculous this conversation might be, that if I am not unrelentingly honest and earnest, that every instance when I'm not, it will come back and bite me in the ass, as this is right now. So calling him INFP and putting him in the slammer was a somewhat dishonest act on my part. On some level, I knew I was just rushing to judgment and tossing him in the slammer. So, you might go, well, he's not actually going to jail, Eric. It's just pretend, remember? But it doesn't matter. As you can see, we are here in the external metaphysical field. So things that matter here are things that matter in the external metaphysical field, like statuses. And it makes a huge difference whether or not you can reliably trust me to take what I'm doing seriously, whether I'm making jokes or not, 100% of the time, or only 99.999% of the time. And what happens is, if there is that 0.1% of the time, it will come back and bite me in the ass, as it does right now, from question mark and email anthrax alike. So, I mean, I can't blame them for that, because, they caught me. It's difficult to find examples like this, extremely difficult, because it doesn't happen very often, but they happen on one, and, and you see what happens is, like, they get attached at some point. Question mark got attached to the notion that Frank James is an INFP, and he thought I agreed with him. And then he may have discovered recently that I didn't, and haven't for a long time, and it bothers him a great deal. His fixation on me changing my opinion, though, is wrong. So one thing we should all agree, who've been around here at all, is that I'm fair about that kind of stuff. That if in fact there was, I'm not closed. I'm not insistent that I will deny the possibility of that. It's just, unfortunately, in this instance, you're challenging me about something that I'm quite certain about and have a lot of data about. So in other words, I'm much more familiar with Frank James's stuff and Frank James than I am with almost anybody else on YouTube. And I'm very confident in my conclusions about it. It's not like I have any doubt, but I can certainly understand why, given the fact that as viewers, we don't have an opportunity to talk to him, ask him questions, test these things ourselves, that it's reasonable to conclude, based purely on his affect, that he might be an INFP. Okay? Question mark, I can't prove it. And you're ignoring everything I'm saying. I keep telling you, obviously it is the case that you can't be definitive about type unless you have an opportunity to speak with a person, ask them questions, and formally type them. I've said that many, many times. So first of all, the verb is prove. If you want me to prove it, that means you want me to determine how high the alcohol content of it is. So for example, if back in the olden days, the pirates wanted to make sure that their rum was adequately strong, that's where proofing came into being. And the way that they proof it is they would, I think, mix it with gunpowder and then watch how it burns or something like that. I'm not exactly sure the mechanism they use, but that's where the idea of proof comes in with liquor. Whether something's 80 proof, 60 proof, 40 proof, or whatever. It's back from pirate days when the pirates wanted to make sure that their rum was not weak, I guess. Isn't that interesting? Winston's mom, don't mansplain at question mark, okay? Don't mansplain at him. Just because he's expressing that he's upset about something, or that he feels as though I've been inadequately robust in my fairness, there's not reason to conclude that he's drunk. I mean, he may be genuinely upset.
Yeah.
So he may be. I agree. This is surprising. Like it's like, whoa there, buddy. But it's fine. He may be genuinely this. He genuinely is like, what the fuck? You said he was INFP, and I get that. That's fair. And
Yeah.
I'm not telling you that.
It's messing with his ontology, maybe a little.
Maybe. I'm not sure. But no, question mark. I'm not telling you that you should not be upset. I don't care if you're upset or not. If you're really upset and you want me to, though, I am potentially willing to send you a greeting card that I purchased at the pharmacy that says, "Hope you're feeling better. Sorry for your loss." That's the point, that I don't care. I don't establish introvert or extrovert, Sean. I say, let's figure out what your dominant function is and what your secondary function is. Extroversion and introversion is a mostly misleading and certainly unnecessary distinction to make. Like, extroverted intuition puts information, but it can put it on the external metaphysical field or on an internal metaphysical field. I can think of things, I can imagine things, I can ideate without saying it out loud. What's going on?
A package coming, but it'll be late. It's just a book, so if it's overnight, it's okay.
Okay.
Should be.
I want to lend you a book before I read it. Check it out. See if you like it.
Sure.
I think it's up your alley.
Did you buy it new?
Yeah, I ordered it from Amazon.
Oh.
Somebody recommended it to me, but I'm not going to get around to reading it until after I read this book I got to read for my client for school. So.
Yeah, this looks interesting.
Cool.
See, I got to check the print.
Yeah, I know it's small print. It is small print.
Okay.
All right.
I'm off.
All right, have a good time. I'm not making jokes about you getting upset. Okay, yes, I did. Okay, my mistake. The greeting card thing was a joke, I guess, but not necessarily. You can hold me to it if you want. If you really want me to get you a consolation greeting card, I will. It doesn't have to be a joke. I could do that. That's within my range of effort that I'm possibly able to exercise. What do you guys think about Lijo? I get the vibe she isn't INTJ, but a lot of people vouch for her. I mean, there's another one I type policed, and I type policed her as not INTJ. And my perspective on it is I don't really want to state formally a perspective on it anymore because for a few reasons, I guess. Right. This is a shit show I don't want to be standing in the middle of, basically, as to what type Lijo is. I typed her whatever I typed her as in a type police video a long time ago, which she asked me to take down, which I did at some point. Whatever I said in that, I stand by. Note that this is very different than the Frank James thing. I stand by what I said about Frank James too, which is I was wrong on the type police and he's not an INFP. And I stand by what I said about Lijo too, even though it's unpopular. But I'm not going to vocalize it exactly right now because it's too much of a shit show to stand in the middle of. So that just goes to show you, question mark, that I'm reliable in the sense that it's not a matter of, me being influenced by this reason or this or that or the other kind of ulterior motive. It's I'm do my best to be true to what the data shows, as best I can. She didn't censor me. She asked me to take down a video. And I almost always do when somebody asks me to take it down. Why? Because it's more important to them than it is to me. That's why. The other thing is, it's a matter of what kind of things do I feel bad about being silenced about, or think it's bad to silence me, you know? I think it's bad to silence me about political stuff. If somebody were asking me to take on a video where I explain political positions, I would not. I absolutely would not. But, you know, when you're talking about type, you're talking about ontology. People link their identities to these NI notions and these labels, and they can get very emotional about the issues. And so I've had to learn to be better in my FE in dealing with that kind of stuff. And, you know, as you can see, when people feel as though, well, I mean, people want to trust somebody to be right, you know, which I get. And I am the best person to trust to be right. And that's a good thing to if you're going to put your faith in any typologist, I'm the right one for sure. But, you know, just because I'm the best doesn't mean I'm perfect. And sometimes I make mistakes. And when I do make mistakes, though, I correct them. And when people put pressure on me to say something that's not correct, it has no impact on me. So it's like, you know, it doesn't matter how much question mark and email anthrax or whoever else pushes on me about Frank James. I'm going to stick with my position that has been determined by the data and my disinterested calculus, and that's it. And I'm not subject to being moved a lot on things from other people. So, Chris Siak, well said. That is so well said. I could talk about the pores versus the pores, but that'd be pedantic. So true. That is so true. She is misleading people. Lots of people on the internet are misleading people. The thing is, I suppose that there's a difference between those who are knowingly misleading people and those who are unknowingly misleading people. Somebody like Marty, he is not capable of knowing he's misleading people. He's TI polar and NI fourth, and it's all about, you know, the things that really matter, which are his absolute values, none of which link to epistemology at all. So, you know, it's like, it's not exactly his fault for being completely wrong and just spewing misinformation, but you get the sense that C.S. Joseph kind of knows he's spewing disinformation. That's the difference between misinformation and disinformation. You know, I can't prove this, and so it's just I'm just positing, speculating. You could say that maybe C.S. Joseph knows he's spewing disinformation, but I'm definitely not flawless. True. Email anthrax never claimed to be flawless. Never claimed to have a absolutely complete set of knowledge about the matter. And I agree that certain manners of attention are more intuitively knowable by me than others. Nevertheless, I'm confident that given our respective approaches to the issue and the amount of attention we've given to the matter that's totally disinterested, on any average thing, I'm more likely to be correct than you. But on Frank James, I'm much more likely because I have no investment at all in whether he's an INFP or an INFJ, which is to say, I don't identify myself as either an INFP or an INFJ. So if I identify myself as an INFJ, and part of how I attain that identification, self-identification, is by contrasting against Frank James, who I believe is an INFP because Eric said he was, then this is going to cause me a great deal of distress to discover that Eric actually thinks he's an INFJ. Because after all, the reason I think I'm an INFJ is because I'm contrasting against him. Maybe now I'm actually the INFP, but I don't want to be on the INFP. Joey, I would say I had more than one video on her probably. I definitely took down at least one video about her, but there may be others that are still up there. I don't know. Remember, 5,300 videos. So I have.
Happy's just game.
Okay, cool. So people say, meow, 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 and you said meow, 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 meow. I'm like, okay, when was this? October 17th, 2016. Okay, well, come on, guys. Cognitive functions is not something that I anyway got right away. It was a rather steep learning curve, you know? And in the process of that learning curve, I said, I'm sure lots of things that were wrong, but I rarely do anymore. Why just censors her comment section? She censors everything. A lot of people do. And that's what I'm saying is one of the biggest challenges in being a YouTuber is that thing. Like the reason why I'm so comfortable as a YouTuber that and yeah, I don't do any of that kind of censorship stuff or astroturfing as it's called. Is because I actually want us to win the arguments because I'm right. You know, it's like I want the issue to be debated out, regardless of what it is. There are some things I like to debate more than others. One of the things I don't like to debate is people's type, because at the end of the day, there's nothing. It's not definitive enough, and it's always going to be like, well, when we factor in these things, then I would say holistically it's almost certainly meow. Whereas somebody else will say, but this runs afoul of meow. And I go, okay, well, it may run afoul of meow, but regardless, what I'm saying is when you factor in this, a holistic pile of things eliminates that as a possibility, eliminates this as a possibility. It means it's got to be this. But then people will dispute whether or not the things I say actually eliminate meow, and then it just gets all muddled in a mess. So I don't like arguing about type, but I'm happy to argue about politics anytime. Or philosophy or whatever. And the key thing is, because that's my identity is I want to be not attached to things. I want to be an identity who believes that his identity is not linked to his position statements and stuff, and so is able to change them in keeping with correctness as it evolves. Oh, AstroTurf is fake support. Okay, my bad, Horse Mumbler. Thank you for correcting me. I didn't know that. I thought AstroTurf meant to delete all the negative comments. Apparently, AstroTurfing refers to adding fake positive comments. Good distinction. I'm glad to know that. Thank you for informing me. So, it's like people challenge me all the time. But I'm not worried about it. It doesn't scare me. It doesn't bother me if somebody wants to, if a whole slew of people come at me and go, you're an ESTP, you're an ESTP, you're an ESTP. It doesn't bother me because, first and foremost, I'm looking at the actual data and I'm not very able to be influenced by other people's certainty. Other people's certainty means shit to me. I've seen everybody in the world be incredibly certain about things that they're totally wrong about, including myself. So certainty means nothing to me. Question mark, we've been over this. I did call him for a few days an INFP, like about 2 years ago. For a few days, I called him an INFP. And then I realized, recognized, accepted that he was an INFJ, corrected myself, made a video accordingly, and have maintained he's an INFJ ever since. Now, one time when we were at the park, I looked and you were way over there and it was very dim. It was twilight. And I thought you were a bear. I said, there's a bear. And when you got a little closer, I said, that's not a bear, that's question mark. And you know what? Years later, I really got in trouble. At another picnic, a family member came up and said, you said question mark was a bear. You have to maintain that position. And I realized, fuck, once you say someone's a bear, they have to be a bear forever, even if you're wrong.
It's a hard lesson to learn.
Yeah, that's a tough one. You are married to your wrongnesses no matter what.
Wow.
If you change your opinion, then that makes you a bad person.
So we're married to our mistakes.
We're married to our wrong position.
Wrong positions.
Yeah. So like, one time I said that baby monkeys grow out of ferns. So that's still my position, of course. I have to maintain that.
Yeah.
I've had to fight that battle so many times because people keep telling me that's not true. Give me lots of proof as to why it's not true. But I know that what's most important is that I cling to my wrongness as though it was the most important thing in my life to me, because that's how you be what? You're speechless? I'm sorry. Have I stolen all of your speech? Or have you used it all up? Have you run out of speech? Is that why you're speechless? Oh no, everybody. Can everybody lend ? A word or two? He's used up all of his speech.
Aw.
You haven't accounted for ? Being a skinwalker, and at the time he was really a bear. You know what, Desert INTJ?
Skinwalker.
Makes sense. The bears are skinwalkers. Those are the bears that they send out to keep track of people. They're secret spy bears is what they are. And you know what I was always tripped out by? Do you know that there are yes, that's fine, Rachel. I don't blame you for choking on ? Wrongness.
Yeah, that's what caused it.
It gives me breathing problems too. Everyone who has commented on my ISTP stuff disagrees, but they yet all have different types from age. Shrug it off until you spread the type police. You're an ISTP, Jess. I'm pretty convinced of it. I mean, I don't know for sure, but it seems like you are. I don't know why. Why would somebody dispute that? That's not the sort of thing that people dispute typically. Typically, people dispute when you type somebody is INTP or INFJ, you are guaranteed to get a lot of pushback.
Yeah.
Horse mumbler. ? I keep telling you, the reason she's coughing is because your words are like very cheap weed smoke.
Yeah.
They make you cough. Okay?
Yeah,
It's your fault. She's coughing because she's breathing in your cheap weed smoke words. Because every second dude is an INFJ? I mean, that's simply not the case. INFJs and INTPs and INFJs and INTPs and ENTPs, they're very rare. And INTJs too, very rare. However, it's also the case that people who've got valued NI are more likely to seek me than people who have instrumental NI in general. Especially if it's for a stack. So I get a lot of INFJs, a lot of ISFPs, some ENTJs. Well, why? Well, because INFJs are not going to be satisfied with their typing until it's right, until the truth is told to them. And same with ISFPs. So, I mean, if you were to say, if I were being thrown random individuals from a random population, then you would get a splay of types that represent the distribution of the types within the population. But that's not the case with me in this channel and typology in general. There are very many types that are not interested in typology naturally, or that have to choose to be interested in it. When I lived with an ISFJ, and she heard me talk about typology on the channel all the time and refer to these term jargon things, the two-letter things, the NETI, blah, blah, blah. Despite the fact that we were together for 2.5 years, she never learned what any of those things meant. She never picked up on it naturally, so to speak. And the reason is because for an ISFJ, if they want to learn about something, they have to willfully learn it. They can't they just don't pick it up naturally. So So those types are much less likely to be interested in typology because their experience is much more grounded. They are much more concrete. They don't see it as a necessary or important thing to have an abstract understanding of what pattern they're representative of. It's like if you have certain types such as INFPs or ESTJs or even ISTJs maybe, they'll insist, if you get down to the matter, that they're not representative of any pattern, that they are unique, and that to try to put them in a box is a bad thing, and yada, yada, yada. If you talk to an ESTJ about is it possible to know things other than experientially, you will have a hard time convincing them that it is, even though it's fairly obvious to people who are intuitive that you can know things non-experientially. Question mark. I'm not sure what you're doing at this point. Explain this to you. I don't doubt that I may have called them INFP 10 times, but it was in the same video. So, like, if I'm making a video about how, for example, hey, I think that's a picture of a ghost I caught in my photo, and then people figure it out and go, actually, that's not a ghost. That's a shadow from a tree. And then I go, oh, I was wrong. I may have claimed 50 times in that video that I caught a picture of a ghost. But once I accept that it's wrong, it doesn't count as me having multiple instances of an affirmation. I affirmed it one video, and then I since have recanted that, and that's okay. It's totally acceptable. Especially given the fact that this is not anything recent. I changed this opinion years ago, and I've maintained the same position ever since. You may have recently discovered that I didn't. I nixed the idea that he was INFP right away, but yeah, you got to be willing and able to change your mind as you determine that the data is not consistent with what you said. Like, one of the harder things for me to do, but the alternative is to sort of live a lie. One of the more challenging things I had to do was to tell Rachel that I was wrong about her type after her being here for a month, and go, okay, I know I told you you were ENFJ, and we've been operating sort of under that frame of reference for the last month, but I've also been gathering data for the last month, and I can no longer maintain the position that you're an ENFJ. You just can't possibly be. So I'm afraid I'm going to have to tell you I typed you wrong. That's not easy to do. It's like you have to really be comfortable with accountability. You have to be really accustomed to it. I shit my pants because my mom will clean it anyways, and I stand by that. That's a good way to think about things. Email anthrax. Yeah, I don't feel as though you were dissing or disrespecting me or anything like that. I did see that thing earlier that you said about your FE platter that you served me, and consider me hereby eating from it and complimenting you on your fine cooking. Eric, do you have a split personality? Eric A, Eric B, Eric C. Yes, that's it. That you got it right. The reason I changed my opinion is because I have multiple personality disorder. Life Syncrotic, who's the best cook, Eric or Rachel? I do more cooking. I do most of the cooking, but we don't really have a kitchen where Rachel feels comfortable settling in and doing much cooking. Not because nor I, because my dad makes it difficult to use the kitchen when he's around here because he likes to oversee everything.
Yeah.
Did Delilah decide to study psychology because you showed her lots of MBTI stuff from young? No, I don't know why she decided to study psychology.
It sounds like she likes child psychology in particular. I think she likes psychology because she finds herself to be a fairly balanced person. She likes to help people who she empathizes with people who aren't. I think having a cousin who was a difficult child kind of propelled that.
Well, she's in a weird position where she had a very loving, healthy upbringing in a lot of ways, but she also was near plenty of instances where things weren't necessarily healthy. You know, I never liked the way that my first wife's sister's family interacted with each other, and the way that I felt that there was sort of bullying within the family, kind of. I didn't think Delilah's cousin Jessica was. She seemed a little sociopathic from fairly early on, and you know, the other girl in that family, it was is Isabel, Jessica's little sister, and you know, she attempted suicide in her teen years, and I attribute that at least partially to the shitty, snarky, kind of passive aggressive ontological violence of Jessica imposed upon Izzy. So, you know, I think Delilah does have experience enough to see when things are bad psychologically or relationship wise, and also has the core of somebody who was very well loved and surprisingly, kind of shockingly, unexpectedly well raised, which is to say, for parts of my daughter's childhood, I was a methamphetamine addict. And yet those times are some of my fondest memories with Delilah, because I was also, for part of that time, I'd gotten reduction in force from the county. I had gotten laid off, and I was able to ride with her on her bike to school every day and go and pick her up from school every day and spend a lot of time with her, you know. And she had a lot of adults who wanted a piece of her, like my parents and my first wife's parents and my second wife's parents, and they all loved her a lot, you know. So the thing is, she's emotionally and spiritually well, and also familiar with emotional and spiritual disease, you know, and how to deal with that. So I think that maybe that's why she's going into psychology. But I also think that she probably makes the same mistake that I do, which is to think that psychology is primarily a matter of TI and FE. Whereas, of course, for a lot of psychologists, like ENFP psychologists and stuff, it's quite opposite of that. The psychology is all about FI and maybe even SI.
Yeah.
So when my second wife and I had a ENFP marriage counselor, he was very concerned with our FI and eventually kept hammering on the SI. It's like, okay, well, now let's talk about your diet. And I was just like, fuck you. This has nothing to do with my marriage. It's like, well, you're eating too many hamburgers. That's why you're not getting along well, or that's why you should not get divorced or should get divorced or whatever. What the fuck? You must be TI polar. The thing is, that guy, he was a former LD debater, so he could hang with me pretty well in those therapy sessions. But he was still an ENFP, so he thought that somehow our diet had something to do with our marriage problems. Talk about stupid.
Yeah.
But of course, what was his actual position there? his actual position was Candace was fat, and he didn't like that. He's one of the many, many people in the world who have this sort of reflexive dislike, dismissal of fat people. But I saw right through that shit. He thinks he's caring because he's addressing that Candace is fat. No, that's not caring.
God.
You're not caring. You're being a fucktard.
Yeah, that really is fucktard.
And you just watch right now, ENFP, what happens when you exceed the scope of your legitimate jurisdiction. Yes, your anus is gaping because that's the only way to fit the pineapple up there. It's like, I'm just not having that shit. Who really respects FI? Me or that ENFP? Me. I really respect FI. I respect the human beings' legitimacy in their body as it is. I don't expect myself to have any opinion about their body and what they should do with it. The pineapple is a symbol of welcome. Welcome to the natural consequences of that bullshit you just said. Yes, you can get a question. Hi, MC McPhee. I don't want beef with Frank James. I would love beef with Frank James. That would probably vastly improve my visibility. If there were public beef, it would be like having beef with Eminem. I mean, you'd probably get schooled in the battle rap, but you'd be remembered. There's only one reason anybody ever thinks of or knows of or remembers the name Benzino. Only one reason. And that's because Eminem schooled the living fuck out of him in a couple of awesome battle rap things, But the other problem is I like Frank James. I don't
Hey, you wouldn't really want to beef with him, right?
I don't have any beef with him. I've nothing to beef about. I think he's funny. I think he makes good content. I think he's very intuitive. I think he understands INFJs very well. I think he understands a lot of types well. He came in here one time and gave me $20 as a super chat. And like everybody else, I am subject to a little bit of fanboyishness, and it was pretty exciting because this was after. If it had been a couple months earlier, it wouldn't have been very exciting because he would have been the same size as me. But once he got huge, he comes in here and gives me $20. Like, that's pretty exciting. It was exciting. I was like, how many people can say that Frank James came and super chatted them? Huh?
That was cool.
A lot of people can say they super chatted Frank James. How many people can say Frank James super chatted them?
Yeah, and he was in the stream twice.
Yeah, he's been in the stream a couple times. Yeah. So I mean, I have no beef with him at all. I have no reason to have any beef with him. But I would say, what I'm saying is, if I did have beef with him, it would probably be beneficial to myself. I wouldn't call myself a fanboy either. I'm just saying that when he actually shows up around here,
you
can't help it. You can't help a fanboy a little bit,
It's Frank James.
Yeah, Frank James super chatted me $20.
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's true.
Yeah, he did.
So,
he didn't have to either.
I mean, it's a fun story to tell for a lot of reasons. It's a fun story to tell because, number one, it's how I can segue into, everybody's subject to a little bit of fanboyishness, which is a worthwhile thing to say because I don't want to be one of those guys who thinks that, to the extent that I'm impressed with anybody else, that means I'm inferior to them or something, I just don't want that vibe. So, I like the fact that it happened because of that. There's that angle, which is it egalitarianizes me. The other thing I like about it is I feel as though he was saying to me, I recognize your contributions, which is nice, you know. Email Anthrax says, Eric, you debate C.S. Joseph about who's the ENTP, and I will debate Frank James on who's the INFJ. Yeah, I would have no problem debating C.S. Joseph, but he doesn't want to debate me. He says it would be a waste of his time. And as far as the other thing that somebody said before about, what was it I wanted to respond to? Oh, you're right, Horseman Player. I forgot about that earlier reference point. That's your superior SI getting the better of me. I guess I was lying, question mark. When I told question mark that no, of course Frank James didn't pay me money. That was a lie. He did, but it had nothing to do with. I had long before changed my position of him. Like, you know, they're unrelated, but I stand corrected. Frank James did pay me money, actually, but not for letting him get away with his type crime or something. So that's true. Okay, that's exactly what an ENTP would not say. What would an ENTP not say? What C.S. Joseph said about it's a waste of his time, right? Eric, if the fans ask for you down to debate, of course I'm down. I've asked him to debate me on a few occasions. Other people have asked him as well. I've said I'm totally down for it anytime, anywhere, whatever. But he's indicated his explicit position on it was that it would be a waste of his time. And you know what? About that, I think he's correct. It's a no-win situation for him. It wouldn't do him any good. He's bigger than me, so it's not like my viewers are going to be turned on to his shit. Anybody who's one of my viewers is going to find his explanation inadequate, and his viewers might, on the other hand, be drawn away from him to me. So it really is a no-win situation for him. He's very unlikely to substantively, quote unquote, win the debate. And to the extent that some of his adherents are struggling with the lack of logic, then they would be likely to be drawn over here. So if you have a TE frame of reference, then it makes sense to not debate him. Would I debate him if the circumstances were reversed? Of course, but that's because I don't have a TE frame of reference, which is why the circumstances aren't reversed. If I had a TE frame of reference, I'd have way more subscribers and be way less right. So, you know, it's a trade-off. You do what you take the good with the bad, as they say. Is that an SI thing? I played quarters the first time I got really drunk. I was incredibly sick. I still loathe the smell of alcohol. But ironically, you love the smell of quarters? That is strange. I mean, I don't think all ENTPs love to debate. I don't think the fact that C.S. Joseph doesn't want to debate me proves that he's not an ENTP. I think there's a lot of other very strong reasons to conclude that he's not an ENTP that are well beyond are much more convincing than his willingness or lack thereof to debate me. It's a bit of a misnomer to call the ENTP the debater type. I happen to be a very stereotypical ENTP. I mean, like, I must make the type descriptions proud because I am literally a debate coach, and I'm everything the type descriptions say except an inventor. The type descriptions are always wrong about that. I'm not in my garage tinkering with making a glider that also shoots lasers or something. It's like ENTPs just can't really make boring videos consecutively. I get frustrated with myself because I know that sometimes I do make boring videos, but when I do, it's because I'm turning YouTube into an SI thing instead of an FETI thing, an SI or a TI thing. So So my boring videos are either too TI, that is to say too dense and too like full of big words, and I'm right logical justifications that are designed to resist successful attack. What's interesting is when I do present a video that has very strong TI defenses and very strong explanation about cognitive functions, they rarely get many or any comments. So it's like people are looking for weaknesses to attack, and if there aren't any, then they really aren't very interested in it. So the thing is, if in fact C.S. Joseph were an ESTJ, there's something about that would make a lot of sense, because what it says here, what Hometown Rapper says here, I thought I was an ENTP until I saw how much ENTPs on YouTube actually talk. It is the case that C.S. Joseph makes a lot of videos, that he spends a lot of time talking. But the thing is, that's consistent with third slot NE. My dad, if he gets on a roll and you're giving him cues that you're enjoying listening to it, he will go on a roll and talk for quite a long time about a variety of subjects.
Sometimes even if you give him cues that you don't want to.
Right. Well, he has his, there's this thing that happened in Temple City, when I used to live in Temple City, where the Chinese ladies who are driving, they seem to think that stop signs are an instruction to stop. And once you've completed the instruction, it's time to go. So it's like, stop sign, I've come to a stop, and now I will proceed. The fact that there's no stop sign this way and there's a car right here is irrelevant. It's like, what I did what it said, I stopped. So the equivalent here is, what was the equivalent? What am I talking about?
I don't know how, like, your dad will talk if you give them.
Oh, right. So what my dad does is this. He says, now, I know I'm talking too much and this is probably boring you, but, and then he proceeds to do it anyway, as though the stop sign were this protective barrier around him rather than a preventative thing, right?
Yeah. And I haven't been comfortable enough yet to figure out how to, like, because sometimes you just get up and you go back and you watch TV and I'm like, oh man, like, I'm so jealous right now. Like, I would rather be in there watching, like, football or whatever here.
Every once in a while, I'll leave you to chat with them alone.
Yes.
But, I try not to.
No, but you don't do it often, and I'm not complaining. I'm just, I haven't gotten that technique down yet. Like, it's going to happen.
Right.
And
well, the thing is, I genuinely, mostly nowadays, like to listen to him talk and have a substantial amount of patience for it. I find him increasingly interesting, and it's not because I think he's getting more interesting, but because I'm getting more. I'm getting less self-absorbed, I guess. You're
listening more.
Yeah, I'm receiving more.
Attentive. Yeah.
So, it's like TI is a get function. It's also a listening function. So when I say I listen well, what I mean is when people say things to me and I'm paying attention to it, I understand the meaning of their words very precisely. But that's different than receiving information. Listening as in hearing somebody tell a story. That's very different than a TI kind of listening, which is a TI kind of listening begins. Hopefully, I think that might be the last of question marks she had to clear out of her lungs. So anyway, we can't promise that though, right? I mean, question mark is very lung clogging. So, okay, what were we talking about? Oh yeah. Receiving information is different than getting information. TI listening begins with what I want to know, and SINI listening is hearing what there is to be heard. So as an INFJ, Rachel's most natural state of being almost is consuming media. It's because she's receiving information about which she knows things. And in contrast, my most natural state of being is this. I'm getting information for my own purposes by reading what you guys are saying, thinking about it, and then taking action upon it by responding to it. And I control the action half of the frame in the sense that whatever action you take is not going to set the frame of what gets talked about unless I make that happen, right? So this particular kind of medium, this live streaming with people who are communicating with me directly in the chat on a very turn-based TI-any kind of way, that allows me to control the audio space such that, which functionally controls the narrative space, so that from my own perspective anyway, even if you guys are ignoring me, from my perspective, I'm controlling the narrative space and talking about what I want to talk about, and can engage those elements of your putting objects on the external field as I wish. And I don't have to deliberate much ahead of time because I'm any ahead of TI. I'd rather improvise on the fly than have it all deliberated out ahead of time. But additionally, I do have this whole model deliberated out ahead of time, which I can draw from SI. So I have ready answers to most of the questions, and I don't have to rely on improvisation to establish competency, because there's real competency. So there's shit tons of reasons why the most natural thing in the world for me to do is to live stream about cognitive functions on YouTube, or politics, or philosophy, or any of those things. It's like I really, it's a drug. It's an attentional manner. It's like this what do you call it? Like a manner of engagement or something that is ergonomically fitted to my function stack plus my particular history in such a way that it's always going to feel as though I'm at home when I'm doing this. And it'll increasingly feel like it's at home the more the numbers go up. So it's like when there's a lot of shit to respond to here in the chat, and I can pick and choose more selectively, the videos are better, the live streams are better, the engagement's better, everything's better. And when there's fewer people, it's requires more straight up NE from me, and there's less sort of editorial discretion. So let me go through a few of these comments, read them, and comment upon them.
I'll be right back.
Masticate to chew. Correct. Why is his tone a topic of discussion? Whose tone? From now on, everybody should always not use he, she, his, her, so we always know who you're talking about, okay? No more personal pronouns. Like this. See, Writing Fox demonstrates. Pay attention. Eric has been speaking more calmly, consciously. That's true, actually, Writing Fox. I have made a conscious decision to pull back on the FE expressiveness in my communications, especially those that are FE stick. You know, so you can think of FE as carrot or stick, right? Like, hey, buddy, great job is FE carrot, and what are you, stupid? Is FE stick. That's, of course, every NTP's ultimate go-to outrage is, you're stupid. That's stupid.
That is totally.
That's too dumb for me to tolerate.
Definitely.
The stupidity of that dumbness stupefies me. That's how NTPs we just are that way. And it's something that I have to sort of get over, like everybody else who's an NTP, ultimately. Let's see. There are two students of Socrates who wrote dialogues about him, and one other person who was a peer to Socrates who wrote a play titled Bees that mocked him. A play that mocked Socrates? Outrageous.
Outrageous indeed.
Was Socrates offended? Do you know, Carlos Penn? Did he write an outraged editorial to the Did he chisel on marble tablet an outraged editorial to send to the local marble page newspaper that was printed twice a year in ancient Greece? You can hear the subordination of their any and the plotting nature of their communication. There's clearly a particular TE point that's being driven at, unlike the implicit exploration in any 1-2. You must be talking about an ESTJ, horse mumbler. Raoul Jourdain says hello. And in return, I say, Raoul Jourdain, hello to you too.
Hello.
Sean O'Neill says, hey, mumbler. And Zayden Black says, hi, Raoul. In response, Brennan Fox greets, hello, at Raoul. Welcome. Question mark says, he says Frank James is an INFJ, but his body language says otherwise. Raoul Jourdain says, what's being discussed? Winston's mom says, Swift Eagle, did you see that thing I sent you about that train? Everybody loves trains. Karma's Pimp says, could still be folk legend, not sure. Darren Siebert says, Eric, when last did you read a book and what was it called? The last book I read was called Dry. It's a book, it's a young adult book, I guess you'd say, for it's a story of Los Angeles or Southern California having the water all turned off, that there being some sort of political dispute in Arizona, and blah blah blah, and they make it so that the California doesn't get any more of the Colorado River, and all of a sudden there's what's called tap out, this day when everybody turns their taps on but nothing comes out, there's no water. It's a pretty good book. I heard they're going to make a movie or something out of it.
Sounds good.
It was pretty good. I read it for work because I'm working with a kid who had to read it for school, so I have to read it,
I do know. That's how I read a Harry Potter book, because I was tutoring the kid in reading. Yes.
Let's see here.
This and this. How's my skin?
Your skin is lovely.
Oh, thank
As
you.
always.
So
I don't even
is
have to look. I can just
yours.
smell from here. It's lovely.
Thank you.
He is my issue at question mark. Only a fool would continue to argue about a topic he knows nothing about, namely trains. So I think email anthrax is kind of a harsh way to say it, but I guess Winston's mom email anthrax is telling you better stop arguing about trains. Let's see here. Parmas Pimp, don't respond to me half the time because I'm pretty disjointed here. Louis XVII, Volkswagen equals people's car. That is what it means in German. You're right. Wagon is car, Volks is people.
That's cool.
Eric is asleep, Anthrax. The interesting thing, and I agree with you here, is not that I'm asleep, meaning that I'm sleeping, but rather that I am asleep, which is...
Not woke?
Yeah, I'm not woke, I guess. I'm not woke enough. Okay, well, maybe I'm not woke enough. Mass debate equal argue in mass. I don't know what debate is. I think that's a pun, a science joke, maybe, but I'm not getting it, I suspect. We're all it's now. I'm not sure what that means. Why was Eric fired? Why was Eric fired? When was Eric fired? Oh, Eric Andre. Right. Well, because AT&T is having a lot of problems right now. And AT&T owns Warner, and Warner owns Adult Swim. And
Yep.
I believe that Eric Andre is the one who got fired because, in part, I suspect he was sort of fronting a faction within Comedy Central. I guess probably owns Adult Swim. I'm not sure who's directly in charge.
Cartoon Network.
Or Cartoon Network. Okay, fine.
But they separated.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, and they became their own company.
I didn't know that. Okay, so anyway, Adult Swim is one of the acquisitions of AT&T, then probably this thing. So over the course of the last CEO of AT&T, that CEO was into acquisitions. And he had 43 acquisitions during the course of his CEOhood. He's either now being replaced or was recently replaced because, of course, with COVID, all production, all the media stuff had to shut down. And all of a sudden you go from an ongoing, steady money moving thing where, you get money to pay salaries, you pay the salaries to make the thing, you sell the thing, you get the money, you have that pattern of things going along, and then it stops. But you're supposed to still be paying salaries, but that whole process is stopped. You can't keep it in. So they continue to pay salaries for a while, and then they have to lay a bunch of people off.
Yeah, and they had a lot of salaries at Adult Swim. Adult Swim was pretty damn big.
COVID alarmism coming home to roost.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Octavio Silva. Yeah, so Adult Swim is now sinking, and they're like firing. So actually, the Eric Andre show is now on, like this is the 5th season, I believe, and it's currently on air now. And on the show, he fires his co-star, and everyone thought it was a joke, but it was the actual truth. The guy actually was fired, and he doesn't have his job. So it's actually not funny. It's not like a funny, like, ha ha ha, like, look at what we're taking control here. It just came off as, oh my gosh, like, is he really fired, or is what's going on here? Like, it was very strange. So
anyway, yeah, if
R.I.P. Hannibal.
after I heard about what Rachel was telling me, what did Rachel win? We don't know. She hasn't gotten it yet, but she said some probably some Rick and Morty stuff.
Yeah, Rick and Morty stuff
and stuff like that.
So
yeah, she won a prize on the live stream of Adult Swim. So let's see here. What is your opinion on the Ellen DeGeneres outrage? My opinion on it is that people have a responsibility, if they are heading an organization, to manage their moral agency. And that means to take on those moral responsibilities that come along with having that much leverage over people's lives. If you have given somebody, if you decide to employ somebody full time, for example, and that's their job, it gives you a lot of leverage over them. And it's very important for an individual to manage their own moral agency such that they don't exploit that ability to leverage those people in ways that cause them to suffer or that are self-serving or not, just fundamentally not good to people's ontology. It sounds to me as though she created a very toxic environment.
yes.
I would like to think that no matter how successful or powerful I became in terms of heading a thing, and I'm unlikely really ever to be a subordinate in a thing again. You know, that's just how it is. It's like, whatever it is I'm going to be doing, I'm most likely to be the main guy of it rather than working in some other capacity. So given that, no matter how successful I became in that capacity as an individual heading a thing, I would hope that my attention to the importance of managing my own moral agency would increase commensurately with that. It seems to me that Ellen has the opposite effect, that she's possibly become decreasingly accountable as a human being as she's gotten more successful. And to me, that seems like it's coming home to roost, natural consequences. People incur the natural consequences of their own bad behavior.
Yeah.
But look
this
at me
is a
today.
long time coming. I've been talking to people who are Ellen fans, and I was always like, I heard she has a bad rep. I'm sorry to tell you, and no one believed me, but that was something that, like, I read in a lot. There were a lot of sources and blind items about Ellen being a tyrant at work. Now, I want to ask, and I want to ask the chat as well, what do you guys think of Sarah Silverman taking over for Ellen right now?
And while you're thinking about that question, I would like to point out that this reality that is one's own bad behavior comes home to roost has been proven here today. So one of the things about this channel is I kind of hammer the fact that I make every effort I can to be as honest as possible. I try to be transparent. I try to uphold to the primary value the truth, the most correct position, and I try to discount accordingly where my own interest or bias might lead me to countervalue that in favor of something that's self-serving. So back when I type pleased Frank James a long time ago, I did something it was fundamentally somewhat dishonest and definitely self-serving, which is I decided to sort of willfully, sort of carelessly, negligently, or whatever you want to call it, to highlight the parts of the thing that I saw that made me conclude he was an INFP. I wanted to see him go into the slammer, and it seemed like the best way to put him there. And I don't know if I was being completely honest with myself at the time or not, but there was some dishonesty implicit in there regardless. Here's what happens when you have dishonesty. If in fact, especially if you're like me, where you make being honest and rigorously self-critical and rigorously objective so central to your message, and you have an instance even years ago of where you didn't uphold that core value and you undermined it, and it's so systemically destructive to the mapping when that happens. Because of course, if you are almost always honest, but occasionally you're not, then that's almost worse than being dishonest, because it allows you to always maximally attain benefits from dishonesty because it's framed in a general frame of honesty.
Yeah.
So being objective about that means that I have to acknowledge that when I have been dishonest in the past and I've sort of gotten away with it or not been held to account, then it's going to come home to roost. And this is what it is coming home to roost today. It's coming to roost in a lot of capital letters. Now, the thing is, regardless of the correctness of the critique or the inevitability of it, regardless of the appropriateness of it coming home to roost, it's going to be instantiated here in statements that have varying degrees of legitimacy. So, question mark says he smells fear and it stinks.
So it seems like from the chat, a lot of people are thumbs upping Sarah Silverman taking over Ellen right now. And Gen Xial, or did I say that right?
It's Gen Xennial, actually.
Gen Xennial. Thank you. She asked if she was still being like herself, and she totally was. I follow her on Instagram, and there's she put a clip of her segment on Ellen on her Instagram, and she like lifted up her skirt like that, and there were shorts underneath, and she was like, I hope they make a bunch of skirts like that for me because I'm gonna do that a lot. So I mean, they're letting her be herself, that's for sure.
Okay, so Raoul Wharton says, they say people mistype a lot. What does that mean? Well, my position on that is typology is at a moment in its history where where people are still competing. They're still competing interpretations, but that's not because it's something about which there's not a single correct interpretation. It's because of that moment in history where the model hasn't been refined fully yet in a way that's been accepted as general consensus is correct.
Yeah.
The good thing is it's not just a matter of consensus that will make one of them correct. One of them will attain consensus by being inherently correct. This is not the sort of thing that's arbitrary. It actually links to, I guess you'd say, implicitly implicit relationships between different frames of reference. So in other words, if I'm always justifying things with utility, I'm not justifying them according to some other metrics, such as absolute value of pleasure or logical consistency or something like that.
Question mark, what makes you think that he is not an INFJ? I'm just so confused where this is coming from. I never would have thought. This is, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I gotta say I'm very surprised.
Chase McDude asked, do you think cognitive function theory will ever find itself in a professional psychology environment? Well, Well, I mean, it depends what you want to call professional. So I currently am getting paid to do typology. So does that make me a professional typologist or a professional? Does it make me a professional in the psychology field? Certainly, I do the same sort of work that psychologists do a lot. I get paid to address people's sort of life coaching issues type things, or just to give them my insight about their lives and so forth, and try to help them. Try to help them understand better from various frames of reference, not just cognitive function necessarily, but what's a model you use. So when I encounter cognitive functions, I originally encountered it by MBTI, and then I discovered socionics and cognitive functions, and I read BB and a bunch of other things. And the thing I kept running afoul of was contradictions between the models and contradictions within the models. So I am by trade a professional debate coach, which is to say I professionally make cases to withstand scrutiny. And I said, all right, well, look, what's going on here? Why is this such a mess? And I did what any good debate coach would do, which is I said, all right, well, what's the framework here? What are we trying to do? And the explanation is you're trying to model, the behavior of agents within an environment of some sort. What are equivalents, and how do we try to find an explanation that legitimizes in ways that are non-arbitrary? And so I've put the thing together in ways that I think eliminate a lot of the misconceptions that caused all those contradictions before by doing the necessary legwork to establish a sound case, which is to say, to really meaningfully make a case that there are cognitive functions that determines personality and has a substantial effect on why you are how you are, or in other words, explains why you are how you are. We need to have both a prime directive, something that everything can be reduced to. In other words, functionally, I'm saying cognitive functions, a stack, is a configural approach to solving a central problem. And what is the central problem? The central problem in this case, it would be the prime directive of trying to narrow the gap between the map and the territory. In other words, avoid bad surprises. It's the only kind of universal axiomatic rule that makes sense, that actually upholds across the board. In other words, you have to have a prime directive that can explain any and every willful behavior a human undertakes. You have to be able to explain it in those terms. So if you were to say a human's purpose is to stay alive, then you wouldn't be able to explain the behavior of suicide. If you were to say a human's number one priority is to attain comfort, then you wouldn't be able to explain the urge to be curious or explore things beyond the immediate vicinity of one's comfort. And so the only thing that works as a prime directive, and I didn't get this idea of this thing, although I'm the one who said this makes sense as a prime directive, but this notion that there's an engine of avoiding bad surprise got from this super famous genius guy. Okay, so if that helps you buy it more, then great.
I have to say, hometown rapper, I fucking love your distaste for Ellen. Like, just the words that you use make me laugh. I'm sorry. I guess maybe I feel the same way a little bit about Ellen. But and Winston's mom does bring up a good question.
What's
if we
that?
could fire another host so that Eric Andre could keep his job. Well, we don't care about his job, but if we could fire another host instead and have him replace maybe, or I
don't think firing Eric Andre is a bad decision.
I don't think it is either.
I don't like Eric Andre.
That show is not funny.
He's not funny.
It's not funny. It's
he's
mean.
He's not smart. He's creative, which is different.
Yeah.
It's important to be both smart and creative. Anyway,
I feel bad for the other people who work there, the young kids who are writers and stuff. Those are the people who are really I feel really bad for.
Okay, so regarding the question of who was the genius guy, I don't remember his name. I'll try to figure it out. Look it up. Anyway, the point is, so let's accept that as a functionally a one universal axiom that you have to uphold, that everything can be reduced to. Let's accept that just temporarily for the sake of argument. Now, once you get that notion that there's something that everything can be reduced to, then the question is, well, okay, if a cognitive function stack is a configuration, how does each engage in that fashion, engage with this central directive? And then you've got to establish that people exist, be, act, attend to things on 4 different fields. That is, I can attend to the external physical field, place of physical objects and where I get my cigarettes from, or I could attend to the external metaphysical field, the place of words where all this conversation is going on, place of time objects like videos where you hear meanings, and that's the substance of the matter. I can attend on the internal physical field. I could have a stomach ache or a headache or toothache or whatever, or feel like the chills and go ooh or whatever. Those are all SI kind of feelings. I can also have information on the internal metaphysical field, which is to say I can think about things without saying out loud. So we know there are 4 fields. This is observationally so. If you want to dispute it, you can either establish that there's another field that I haven't accounted for, or you can say that the distinction between any of those 4 fields is arbitrary or non-real in some fashion. But it's pretty difficult to defeat this observation without doing one of those 2 things. So once we can see that that's observationally established, then you've got a system now that makes sense to begin with. You've got agents who can attend on 4 fields, and they can attend in 3 different ways. They can put it, really 4, but they can put information, they can get information, they can receive information, just as with the internet, or they can interface dynamically, just as with the internet. Right now, I'm interfacing dynamically. I'm not making an uploaded video where I've decided and planned out all what I'm going to say ahead of time, then say it all, upload it, and here's my position. That's one way of doing it. That's deliberation action. This incorporates interface. I'm being responsive in a dynamic fashion to the meanings as they're changing on the fly. However, the dynamism of this interaction is somewhat limited by the fact that the chat is not nearly as empowered communicatively to be dynamic on the external metaphysical field as I am, because the chatters are limited to typing into their keyboards and I am able to speak with my voice. So
I'm a fan of your voice.
Thank you, darling.
You're welcome.
And so then when we talk about cognitive functions, then it's as simple as this. Extroverted intuition can be reduced in its most simplified form to that which puts information on the external field, or that which says meanings. The way of paying attention that says meanings. And the introverted intuition can be reduced to that which determines identity, external to one's or regardless of one's own experience. So in other words, this is cherry Coke. The identity of it is a cherry Coke, cherry cola, regardless of my experience of it. So one can imagine a circumstance where one's super absorbed in one's thought, one thinks one has opened an iced tea and drinks several sips of it, believing one's drinking iced tea, and then somewhere through the middle of the drink they go, wait, this isn't iced tea. One can imagine that occurring. It's happened to me before, right? What does that tell us? It tells us that the identity of the thing is independent of our experience of it. And introverted intuition is that which knows identity independent of experience. On the other hand,
Smart fart.
on the other hand, the experience of it as iced tea because I believed it to be iced tea, that is experiential knowing, and that is regardless of identity. So in order to, I'm streaming straight from the webcam, in order to meaningfully engage with these various fields and engage with the kinds of objects that occur on the fields, according to the dynamics of the grammar of the fields, we have to have all these 4 functions, these 4 kinds of functions, and the following permutations, which will allow you to take one specific configural strategy or approach towards addressing the prime directive of narrowing the gap between the map and the territory. So anyway, that's as quick and as quick an attempt I've ever made to explain all the basics to somebody in like bam, 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 bam. I don't know if it was way too much information for you way too quickly to meaningfully process, because either one, you're not the kind of type that processes information like that, or 2, you still have lack of background information that may preclude you from understanding some of the jargon. Either of those is possible. It's possible also that you totally understand everything I just said, and you're like, oh, it sounds like this guy got it down. No, we each have our own bongs.
Yeah, we do.
We can't really share bongs because I like to hold my bong a lot.
True.
And have it sit in my lap and have a bowl that is like I'm gonna pull, but I have to wait until I stop talking before I pull it. And
I'm a chain smoker.
And that could be a while.
And I take little hits more often. But I don't mind if he uses mine. It's a really great bong. I have to say, I love it. Thank you, baby, for that.
Sure. Yeah, I would have to be OBS. Oliver Lynon, it's not the case that everyone wants to talk about Frank James. It's just question mark. Question mark's being really strange today.
It's not, it's unlike you.
Yeah, question mark's been around here a long time, and I've engaged with question mark plenty of times, and he's really worked up about this.
I just since you believe that I'm an INFJ question mark, what about Frank James doesn't match up to me? Because I actually think, besides his 4 Enneagram, a lot of what he says about sometimes it resonates so much with me that I can't actually listen to it because I'm like, oh my God, like he's telling me my life.
Keep in mind, Dave Sampson, when I am super happy for you to encourage and try to make happen any debate between me and anybody, basically about anything. But I will say this: one thing I don't really like debating about is type. I don't like debating about whether somebody's this type or that type. So it's I'd be happy to do it in this instance with question mark if he wants to. That's fine. But in general, I don't like to do it because there's not a common ground to begin with on how to, from which interpretive frame to argue the question. And generally what happens is this. When I make my points, people will say, well, I don't agree with you that meow represents meow. And I say, okay, well, then, now you're going to, it's like, it's like, it's so strange because I've not encountered this kind of almost purposeful non-responsiveness from question mark before. It makes me wonder what's going on. It's unusual. Of course, I've responded to all this stuff multiple times now. Would you have any advice for a brilliant and very intelligent INTP who's unconfident socially and struggling? You mean every INTP? With socializing and anxiety? He's a friend of mine. I've been trying to help him. Question mark, I'm clearly in front of my green screen. Right?
Yeah.
You've said this now twice, that I'm hiding behind my green screen. I don't understand how you can possibly think that I am behind my green screen when I am definitely, in no uncertain terms, objectively in front of my green screen. Oh, I am behind it. Okay. All right.
I think he maybe on some hallucinogens or something. I'm gonna take it as a bad day.
Well, yeah. Who knows what's going on with him today? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't.
I think that. Sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I wanted to.
You go ahead. I monopolized too much.
No, it's all right. I wanted to say that I've actually been called a chameleon before. INFJs are known as chameleons. It's a double-edged sword.
No, I didn't buy this green screen question mark. Winston's mom sent it to me as a surprise gift. I didn't answer the INTP question. Okay, so how to help the INTPs? Well, first of all, I think the most helpful thing an INTP can do first and foremost is to understand themselves via cognitive functions, which means for an INTP to have any chance of getting on top of all this shit, they've got to recognize that they are the way they are. Hello?
Hi, can I speak to Eric Stroh?
Who's calling? Uh-huh. Hey. This evening? Okay, well, he obviously doesn't think it's today because he just went back down to the desert to the condo, so he definitely doesn't think it's today. He talked to me about it. He told me that he had this thing coming up, but he said it wasn't. I don't remember what date he told me, but it wasn't today.
No.
So he won't be. He will not be showing up. I can guarantee you that. He's going back to the desert. He just said goodbye and drove down to Palm Desert.
Yeah.
Like maybe an hour ago. Yeah, I mean, he'd been down there and he came back today because he had a problem with a video or phone or video conference regarding my mom, who's in a nursing home and needed to meet with the doctor remotely. And then he was dealing with that. And then after he dealt with that, he went back down to the desert. No, I don't think he forgot. No, he did not forget. Let me make this abundantly clear. My father did not forget. My father had clearly told me it's my day, and I don't remember exactly what day he told me, but it wasn't today. And so it's not like he forgot. He was definitely under the clear impression that it was not today. Okay, well, listen, right, you are going to have to reschedule him, but hold on. Look, my father's been dealing with Kaiser for quite some time now. I hear a lot of, the thing is, I'm not at all convinced that, in fact, I'd be surprised if his misconception were at fault here, given the history of Kaiser screwing up just about every appointment he's ever had. I would suggest that most likely.
The nurse calls to verify if they're on any aspirin, Motrin, Advil.
So when did the nurse call my dad?
I'm sorry?
So when did the nurse call my dad to verify that?
Let me tell you right now. Hold on, let me go on the other. When they book, because we don't just book appointments, especially these appointments. They booked the appointment on November the 2nd at 9:51 a.m. Diana booked it. And then I called earlier.
Uh-huh.
And they mailed out a letter to him. Because they always mail out the letters with the procedure date and everything.
And the nurse did the pre-procedure. The pre-procedure call when?
Let me see. Well, they made the appointment and they spoke to him over the phone on November the 2nd.
Okay, but you indicated that the day before the procedure, the nurse calls to confirm some things. Can you tell me when the nurse called?
No, not the day before. I'm saying there's a nurse that usually calls the registered nurse. I'll tell you right now, hold on. Leland spoke to him on November the 6th with patient instructions.
Okay, well, I will try to get in touch with him, but I will let him know that he has.
They spoke to him and said your follow-up call to confirm for preparation time and date for Mo's procedure with Dr. Chen on November the 18th. Spoke with the patient. He stated he's taking daily aspirin. Advised patient to hold off his aspirin 1 week prior to checking with his PCP. I'd like to continue with all of the medication, no fasting needed. It's stated here that they did speak to him again on the 6th. So that was 4 days after.
All right.
So he must have forgotten or something.
No, that's not what happened. So this is the thing. It's like we can agree that he's not there and that you expected him to be there. We cannot agree. We definitely cannot agree that he must have forgotten that. That is yet to be determined. I have yet to determine whether or not you were at fault or he is at fault. But thank you for your information. I appreciate your.
I didn't book the appointment, so it's not my fault.
That's okay. Not you specifically. I'm saying I'm not going to concede that, in fact, that's what happened yet. But it may be the case. You might be right. That might be what happened, but that's yet to be determined.
Well, the case is the appointment was missed. We're going to have to reschedule him. I'll give him the paperwork to one of the registered nurses so they can reschedule his appointment.
Okay, great. I'll talk to my dad and let him know that this is going on.
Yeah, because I called him and he didn't pick up, maybe because...
He's driving.
He's driving.
Yeah, he's driving.
And then the Kaiser number comes out, I think, blocked or something. So a lot of people don't pick up the call because it says blocked number.
He doesn't usually answer the phone when he's driving.
Oh, okay. So if you could let him know
Yeah, I will.
that they're getting hold of him to reschedule his appointment.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
No
Have
problem.
a great day.
You too. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Kaiser sucks.
Can you
Sorry.
believe that shit? She was insistent on he must have forgotten.
I know. That is so
I had to
rude.
make it explicitly clear. No, we're not
No.
playing that game,
No,
bitch.
exactly.
I'm not conceding that.
No, hell no. Good
People
for
try
you.
to pull that shit all the
I
time.
know.
They never get away with it
Dad,
with me.
no
I'll tell you that
way.
much. I mean, they have a long history of fucking up appointments. So the
Yes.
likelihood here is about 99% it's their fault, not
Yep.
my dad.
Yes, because your dad would have told us. He didn't say anything about an appointment today. He mentioned that he had an appointment
I don't remember when he said it was. Maybe next week or something. Yeah.
Yes. Aw, Sean and Neil. I love Eric's unflinching family loyalty. It's great. It's definitely something to admire. Hey, Matthew Alistair, it's been a bit. How you doing?
Dad. Hey, Dad. Call me when
I'm sorry, Zandy, to hear that.
you can.
They don't have that great of a reputation, Kaiser.
I mean, we talked to Rachel's psychiatrist. I was like, hey, my dad might have to.
It's a conglomerate.
No, there's the Brian Fox. What she said eventually was that the nurse called him November 6th and told him to refrain from taking something for a week before the appointment on the 18th. I'm still, so okay. I was hoping to discover that, in fact, there is a protocol where the nurse calls the day before or something to verify this. In fact, that then she backpedaled from that implication, saying no, they called some point after the appointment is booked. It's booked on the 2nd, the nurse called on the 6th. Okay, well then it's still undetermined what happened here. I got to figure it out still. Maybe it's possible my dad screwed up, but it wouldn't be because he forgot. It would be because he's deaf and he misheard something. He still thinks the cat's name is Fifi.
I know, that makes me laugh.
So that's how deaf he is,
Yeah, he is. He is. And he doesn't like to repeat himself.
Right. He's not the kind of person who's late. Yellow misses the
No,
appointment.
he's not.
He's the kind of people who hold other people accountable for that.
Yeah.
And so if in fact it's his
good
fault,
that you
it is
defended
because
him.
he is deaf, not because he
Yeah.
forgot or whatever.
No. Right. Isn't that so funny when it's his mom, Fifi?
Yeah. The cat, we call the cat Pee-Pee, or Capio or Pio or whatever.
Yeah, and the P.
But when we call her Pee-Pee, my dad goes, "What? Pee-Pee, the cat." He's like, "Oh, Pee-Pee, Pee-Pee, right? Yes." Oh. Oh yeah, KKSP. I forgot about her.
Yeah, she's
What's
not
going
been
on?
around. Everyone says she's studying, but I have a feeling she's been set up.
All right, let me tell you this. One thing that hasn't happened in a long time that needs to happen is I need to sing the King King Krishna Sarma
Yeah,
song.
that's true.
It's King King Krishna Sarma Bagu. King King Krishna Sarma Bagu. What you do, put the poo on my shoe, cause you're King King Krishna Sarma Bagu.
Wow, it has been so long.
Yeah, it has.
That
Been a
was
long time
wow.
since
I remember
we
when you
enjoyed
made up that.
King Krishna Summer Brigade song.
Yeah.
Steph, Data, where are you
Hey,
going?
Alan Brian.
Data, I'm setting booty traps. Oh. Steph, you mean booby traps? Data, that's what I said, booby traps. God, these guys. What is that? I don't know what that is.
I think that's from the Goonies.
Oh. Rachel, KKSP is supposed to marry my son in 4 years from now. I hope her father did not become impatient and arrange a marriage.
See, I honestly, you worry you have not heard from her? Honestly, I'm thinking studies and love and courting stuff. She was talking about it.
Do you know what, guys? I've been reduced by question mark to a self-acclaimed ENTP. I believe you might mean self-proclaimed.
Oh, did I say the wrong thing?
No, not you. Question
Oh.
mark. Question mark accused me of being a
question mark.
self-acclaimed ENTP.
You're an indigo? Oh, your favorite color is indigo. I like the color indigo too. You don't see it very often, and it's beautiful.
Well, you missed you missed Sinjin. Sinjin was cool, but Sinjin ultimately ran off with Becky. He sided with Becky in that whole matter, and I have my own opinion as to why. But you know,
I have this like inner urge to do like 80s jazzercise. Like go in the back and like hold on, I'll just do it since I'm up already.
you forget who's Sinjin. Sinjin is an INFJ who's French, and there's a big conflict a long time ago regarding Becky, and Becky got very upset because she was cheating on her boyfriend, and I didn't enable it, I guess you'd say. I didn't enable that. And so as a consequence, oh my God, Rachel's just hiding behind the green screen again. She's always doing that. She's hiding behind this green screen nonstop. I can see you back there, Rachel. I can see you.
I'm doing a great job. Can't you tell? I'm doing it practically.
Nobody would ever suspect you're back there.
Mommy.
There is a Sinjin on 90 Day Fiance. I'm not sure if they are meaning this story. No, I'm talking the Sinjin who was around here. He named himself after, I guess, a character in a video game. Anyway, the point is, he's French, and he didn't seem to like my strong feelings on fidelity and monogamy and stuff. And
goodness.
So I don't know.
COVID.
Make of that what you wish.
Like I haven't been able to go to the hair salon because COVID, and this is what I get. Oh, I can't do it myself. Why would they expect me to do it by myself?
Upton Plates says, by the way, I saw that vid where you guys discussed internal family systems. I think she's ENFP. She seems so FI in that video. The thing is, her TI is way too good. I've tested her TI plenty. She's definitely not ENFP. Oh, I'm sorry. I just forgot to introduce her. This is Margaret.
Yeah, my name's Margaret.
Margaret is a friend of Rachel's that comes over sometimes. She likes to stop by, and she says, pour me a drink, and we give her a drink, and then she chats.
Gin and tonic. It's my favorite.
Right.
And we chat, because this one likes to chat.
I do like to chat.
I like to chat and listen, and that's what we do. And I can't believe how my hair looks. Can you believe it? I mean, this COVID's got to stop.
I think it looks great.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
It's obviously been a while since you've dyed it. In the past, I've seen it was jet black last time I saw you. So obviously your color. You know,
Yeah.
you look really young for such a gray-haired lady. So
Well, thanks, you know.
sure. Your hair's aged a lot faster than the rest of you.
It's just because it's very wise, you know. It's seen a lot of things. There's a lot of mystery in this hair. But I tell you though, I've never seen my hair so messy before. Please, we gotta have a mission to open up the hair salons again because I cannot do this. Look at this. I can't do my own bun.
At this point, I think the question mark is Cloud. I finally conclude, I think you're right. Whoever was saying that. I was sort of withholding judgment on the matter. I think it is Cloud.
I think it's close too.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Running
what was it
Fox,
you said that
Becky
made
with
me,
the good hair.
it made me convinced? There was something you said just not that long ago that made me convinced. Oh wait, that definitely probably is Cloud. I mean, I was always thinking it might be, but
Yeah.
I don't like to toss out conclusions until I've got enough to maybe sufficiently NI likely.
This is also a versatile look.
I got a pee-pee in the sink. So I'm gonna stand over here. I'm gonna go ahead and use my pee making part,
Oh my God.
which hangs off to the front of me. It's called my
No,
dangler.
I look like
By utilizing
I
my
look
dangler,
like it was like a homesteader churning butter. Oh,
you look like
I can't
Martha
stand it
Washington on
anymore.
a hard day.
what? Yeah, I do really do look like I've had a hard day.
George has taken me upstairs 3 times already today. I am so tired. George, you're so randy.
George is so randy. He actually did this for me too.
You're messing up my bun. You're messing up my.
I know. The reason he was over was because I wanted him to do my bun, not my buns.
See, does Eric sit when he pisses? Yes. If I'm inside the house at the toilet, I definitely sit down to pee because I'm lazy. And,
That's the dad style.
yeah.
You know, I think at some point.
I've been sitting down to pee since I was like 22 years
Oh
old.
wow.
Just because I'm lazy.
My dad sits down to pee too.
As long as I'm at home. Now, if I'm
At home
out in
as
the
well.
world, I won't sit down. I generally try to avoid sitting on any toilet that's not my own home toilet. So I try to just poo at home if possible. Sometimes, obviously, that's not possible, and you got to go poo out in the
You
world.
gotta go.
And then your butt cheeks feel kind of violated by the public toilet seat until you get home and wash them off.
Yeah, I stand when I pee. Oh, hello, Capillo.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was.
You won the kitty contest. You're the kitty pageant winner. Yes, it's you. You've won. All the votes are in.
I mean, it could be Jeebus, too. That's possible.
Possible. CJ's Cloud. Hey, what's up, CJ O'Connell? We have 2 ENFPs in the house.
CJ is Cloud. Cloud is Matthew. Matthew is Sean. And Sean is Running Fox. Meanwhile, Dave Sanderson is Chasing Dude. And Running Fox is Dr. Logie. Is that clear? Dr. Logie, you're me. Everybody got that? Did I miss anybody? Zandy, you're Rachel. Rachel, you're James.
Okay.
You're clear?
Don't look. I look like a homesteader.
You look like you look like grandma on a winter's day, you know?
Oh, it's so cold. It's a good thing that I have my tea with me. Oh, here's my tea.
Here's your tea, grandma.
Oh, thank you. Here, let me give you a little something. It's fake money. I would
See,
totally.
this is the beginning of this is how Rachel and I do foreplay. She pretends to be a grandma, like grandma. I pretend to bring her tea. Things get hot and heavy from there.
It's getting wild.
I escalate to, "Are you cold, grandma?" And she says yes, and then I wrap her blanket a little closer around her. Say, "Would you like me to put on your stories?" She says yes. I put on some soap opera on TV.
You have no idea the difference a wig makes.
Oh my goodness.
No wonder.
Trouble here.
Troubles here, and he just took over. He was not afraid of Pee-Pee at all at that moment. You go supervise Pee-Pee. He's so handsome. Is he still there?
Yeah, no trouble.
Don't go away. Hi. Oh, hey.
Trouble is a very handsome scamp. Let's see here. Cloud came through real quick last night to be sassy.
He's so cute.
Well, Cloud does bring sass.
I consider us to kind of have two cats since we feed him. He's
Oh.
such a handsome devil.
But it's been a couple of days since we fed him. He doesn't always.
No, you're right.
He doesn't. He doesn't always. What's the word? Oh. I was gonna be like, okay. That makes a little bit more sense there, Dave Sanderson. Dave Sanderson has sufficiently and adequately explained all of Cloud's worldview in one paragraph. Eric, one sentence, I guess. You may think you're so smart, but in reality, your ideas and theories and metaphysics amount to jack squat, and you waste everyone's time in the process.
That sounds like Cloud.
Mm-hmm. It's called getting in tune with your inner Cloud.
Yeah, exactly, Sandy.
Can we put Frank James on the green screen so we can explain what it really is?
That would be
I don't have it set up that I can use the green screen. What type is
Hey,
Cloud?
Fenty Deluxe. Now we have 3 ENFP here.
Mm-hmm. Cloud is an ESFP. Is NI polar if this is even real, lol? Is too funny to be Cloud. Why do people watch sports? I like watching sports. I find it SI gratifying and also grounding. I spend so much time in in Abstract Town dealing with cascading meanings from things people say here, like trying to answer this question while reading what Winston's mom said concurrently and having a little that when I watch sports, it's very grounding. It's very pleasant.
I like sports too for the same reason. It takes me out of my head, which I'm very much in, and it's just it's fun, I genuinely like the strategy behind a lot of sports. Like my favorite sport is baseball. It was the first one that was brought into my life, and when I learned about the strategy behind the pitcher and the catcher and what goes on in the field when certain players up at bat, I had a new respect for it, and I studied it really hard. And like Eric said, it grounded me. It kind of brought me into the world.
It's a really comfortable space where you can be surprised by things that are fun. I personally like watching football most of all sports, college football especially. And personally, I like watching college football because a lot of times the defense is pretty shoddy and random crazy shit happens.
Yeah, I love it. It's so great. College football is so much fun. It's so much more fun than NFL, in my opinion. I don't know.
agree.
That's how I
That's,
feel.
I mean, I like NFL football too, but I definitely like college football a lot better. So Kenton Davey has suspected a spite monkey, just for everyone's FYI. You might want to prep out your wrenches in case.
Well, Winston's mom, some people would disagree with that. There used to be a running joke in New York that you could bounce a quarter off of Derek Jeter's ass because it looks so good in the uniform. So I don't know if they need to change uniforms, but it's definitely not sexy. I don't think it's sexy. I don't watch baseball for the sexiness of it, although I did have a crush.
What's interesting is that you can actually bounce a paper dollar bill off of my ass.
You really can.
Yeah. Because there's a quality in my ass that makes paper more bouncy. I'm one of the only people in the world that have this quality. Most people.
James is INFJ.
So okay, there was something I wanted. Oh yeah, about football and stuff. It's the same kind of the same reason also that I watch those animal videos that I watch, and or well, that's the other thing, the different one. The animal videos that I like to watch, I find them grounding and pleasant, and I have simple FI responses. Yay, that animal caught that other animal eating it.
Yeah.
Or, yay, that animal got to mate. Or boo, that animal didn't catch that other animal, didn't get to eat it. It's like, it's very straightforward, simple stuff.
Oh, I love that.
It makes me smile or frown. I don't have to think at all. It's I like that kind of stuff. I also like to watch on YouTube videos like ancient artifacts that cannot be explained, or mysterious places scientists still don't understand.
I love that.
Things like that kind of stuff. Or also 25 most amazing moments in sports. Shit like that.
Those are so fun too. I usually my top things are talking with the famous people, tarot card readings, and then I like mythology, like Greek mythology and Celtic stuff and Nordic. Like I like learning about those stories. So.
And then, every once in a while I'll find some sort of subject matter that I'll get into, and I'll look at videos about that. Like I was into Sasquatch, watching videos about Sasquatch for a little
That
while.
was so fun.
And I like tried to find any video on Sasquatch that I thought was intelligent enough to be interesting. But by and large, I don't tend to watch a lot of YouTube videos. I make much more YouTube videos than I watch. Some nights I'll spend the whole night watching shit. Like last night I stayed up way too late watching, things that archaeologists have discovered that are interesting. Some of them are like mysterious, can't explain, but some are just like, hey, this is interesting.
Do you find that kind of thing like interesting? Like, do you find bones and archaeology and like artifacts interesting?
Well, I find sciencey stuff in general interesting. Like when I go to Google News increasingly puts into my feed, as I continue to click on them, stories about like math equations being solved, physics stuff, blah, blah, blah. And I often read the stories and only understand bits and pieces of it. But I often take away something that's a useful idea that may end up being applicable in ways that I don't anticipate right away. For example, the other night I was reading about this conjecture in math. In math, a conjecture is something that it's like it's saying meow always meows, but even though we can't find an example that's contradictory, we can't logically prove why it necessarily must be so. Okay, so there's this one conjecture that's very easy. Very easy to explain, very easy to understand. And so I want to just bust this conjecture out.
So the reason why I was asking was because when you come home with me to visit my family, which is like not even home. I was just thinking, I'm like, why did I call it home? I guess I'm just so used to it. But when you go with me to New York, there's the Museum of Natural History, and they have dinosaur bones, and there's also a planetarium. Pretty cool. So it's something that I would take
Cool.
you to.
That'd be fun.
Cool.
So yeah, I mean, I do like to read those kind of things, articles, watch this kind of movies.
Yeah.
But there's this article I want to see the simple math problem we still can't solve. This article here. Okay, so
I like this website.
I do too. It's called Quanta Magazine. Collat's conjecture, the notorious Collat's conjecture, and here it is. Pick. Here it is. Copy and paste. So what you'll see here is, I'll have to make it in 2 pieces. Pick a number, any number. If the number is even, cut it in half. If it's odd, triple it and add 1. Take that new number and repeat the process again and again. And keep this up. You'll eventually get stuck in a loop. Okay? So as an example, we'll take the number 8. Cut it in half. It's even. Because it's even. Now we have 4. We cut it in half because it's even. We have 2. We cut it in half because it's even. We have 1. We triple it. That's 3. We add 1. That's 4. We cut it in half. That's 2. We cut it in half. That's 1. We triple it. That's 3. Like that. Okay. So it is in this conjecture stated that that works for any number at all. Okay.
I was just gonna say 7 because 7's enough.
However, some of them take a lot longer to get to the loop than others. So, for example, if you try 27, it turns out that it takes 101 turns to get to that 4-2-1-1, 4-2-1-4-2-1, 4-2-1 loop, but it still gets down there. Now, it's interesting because, I may not understand exactly how one would go about proving this conjecture. In other words, from rendering it from a conjecture into a proof, I don't know how I would go about doing that. I'm not a mathematician or whatever. But what I did take away from that is the idea of iteration. That one way to process information is to take a given piece of data, feed it into itself, into this sort of function set, and put the end result of it back into it. And I started thinking about how iteration might be useful in trying to explain or test cognitive functions ideas, and what sort of things might be iteratable and which sort of things might not, and what the relationship between iteration and functions might be. So did that produce any outcomes? Not yet, but it's in my mix in my head, thinking about how iteration might be used in, say, testing for type or whatever else. And I'd not thought of iteration in that math term before. I thought of iteration in terms of laying out all the details that are necessary in a case, which is not what it means mathematically at all.
Nice choice of 69, Oliver Linehan.
There you go. So the reason it's a conjecture is because even though
Really
we can't
cool.
think of any examples that violate the rule, they can't prove the rule. And in this article here, it shows how a simpler example of this, which can be proved, but it has a quality that this one doesn't. In other words, in the simpler version, everything always goes down. But in this version, if it's odd, it goes up. So, it's not absolutely clear implicitly that the end result is going to get back down to 1. Because if it's odd, you triple it and add 1. But of course, tripling an odd number and adding 1 always makes it even, which then you cut in half, which may or may not be even again. Depending on, like, if it's 6, it's not even again. But then you have 3, you triple it, 9, you add 1, you cut it in half, you have 5. That's odd, so you triple it, You add 1, you're at 16. So you see, it's not intuitively clear that it's necessarily going to go down to 1, but it always does. So anyway,
That was a good article, fine.
yeah, I like those kind of articles. And it's not because I necessarily understand everything in them. That's the thing. Morris Mumbler points out the question mark stuck in the loop, and we didn't even have to cut him in half or add anything. Hilarious.
Hilarious indeed.
Okay, so what's going on? Do I have anything on my calendar for today?
I don't know.
I haven't even looked at it. I hope
Maybe
not.
Kaiser will call you up and
I hope I'm not missing
blame you
some,
for missing an appointment.
some nyadity. No, I'm not missing any nyadities. That's good. I'm missing nyadity free.
What's tomorrow?
Tomorrow
If
is
you don't mind.
Thursday.
Asking. I meant on the sketch. Do
Oh.
you have anything?
Let me see. Let me look at the old sketch. Today. Tomorrow. No, nothing.
Cool.
I have a wide open schedule.
That's nice.
Okay, so what is this about?
Wide open schedule.
Keller's conjecture. Oh my God, they solved Keller's conjecture finally. I have been worried about that for the last 90 years.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been stressing over when are they finally going to solve Keller's conjecture for 90 years.
I mean,
Today I learned they finally solved it.
they solved it, guys.
Mm-hmm.
That's
They
the
did.
thing. They did, and we should be happy for that.
You want to know an annoying thing? No one really knows why positive divided by negative equals positive.
Like, apparently the number 9 is a magic number too, because it's like everything you add up. Okay, so say you want to do like 9 plus 8. You take that number and you minus it, and it's 9. Something like that. Like 9, you always end up with 9 when you have 9 in the sequence of numbers.
Well, to answer your question, David Sampson, I'm like the calendar, the grand calendar things. There's like a BC and an AD. So I started waiting. I started waiting 31 BC, BE. Like that's how it's been 90 years.
What's up,
So I
Tony
began
Perez?
waiting 31 BE. Where Eric? Eric here. Where Tony? Tony there. Tesla was obsessed with 3, 6, and 9. Well, they have a certain feel to them, right? Like the number 3 has a very like it feels like something, you know. It's got a vibe to it. It's kind of squishy. It's a squishy number. 6, on the other hand, I think of as being kind of ESTJ-ish.
All right. It seems like we have 2 people asking for us to play Among Us.
All right. Well, listen, I'm going to end this stream then, and maybe later in like maybe half an hour or something, or an hour, we'll live stream again with the OBS, and then we'll be able to play games.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. See you all later. Don't forget
Bye.
to eat plenty of cheese.